NASA officials blasting China for, quote, failing to meet responsible standards after debris from that malfunctioning rocket came crashing down to Earth over the weekend. Joining us now to discuss is the author of The Coming Collapse of China, Gorod Chang. Welcome back to Wake Up America, Gordon.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
Now, NASA Administration Bill Nelson criticizing Beijing and insisting that it was, quote, critical for China to act responsibly and transparently in space. Now, Gordon, that debris could have hit anywhere. It was something people were talking about all day Friday through Saturday of, are we just supposed to prepare and keep our head up as we're walking around? It did, of course, land in the Indian Ocean, but how dangerous was this?
Well, this is dangerous. I mean, the first Long March 5B hit a building in the Ivory Coast last year. Now, yes, it's true, as China says, the odds are that this will fall into the ocean somewhere because 70% of the planet, as we've been told endlessly over the last couple of days, is water. But we've got to remember that China is the only spacefaring nation that launches rockets that will come down in an uncontrolled fashion. Everybody else does something else to take care of this problem. And it just shows you in a general matter how irresponsible and reckless China is. They just don't really care. If this rocket falls on your country and kills people, well, for China, it says, oh, that's great, So this is just shows you we cannot deal with China because the Chinese communist system right now is irredeemable.
It's just so wild to even try to comprehend what you're saying, just throwing it up into space with, well, we'll see what happens when it comes down. The world, of course, breathing a sigh of relief now this morning. But what are China's ambitions for space, do you think?
Well, China's head of the lunar program said this in 2018, that the moon and Mars should be part of the People's Republic of China. And he implied that if they get there first and they're able to, they will exclude other nations from going there. Now, this is important because their Mars rover is named Zhurong. Now, Zhurong, they say, is the god of fire. And that makes sense because Mars, planet of fire. But Zhurong is also a Chinese god of war, and he's a god of the South China Sea. And China believes that the South China Sea is sovereign blue territory. In other words, it's a part of the People's Republic. Now, this is a violation of all sorts of international norms and rules, but that's the way the Chinese feel. And so they're being very clear that Mars should be part of the People's Republic.
No, and you've given us so much information in just that quick answer. So, Gordon, how much competition do you expect between China and the U.S. in space? Do you expect that to get worse as both nations are looking to expand their space programs? And as you pointed out, China looking to do it first.
Yeah, and China looks to do a number of things. Now, for instance, this Long March 5B that came to Earth yesterday, there's going to be 10 more launches to put that space station in place. That space station is going to have a laser at the bottom of it. And China says it's there to zap space junk. Well, it's also there, I'm sure, to destroy American satellites should there be a conflict. Because remember, the Chinese space program is run by the People's Liberation Army. And also they're thinking of other devices that will be used to disable the satellites of other countries, including a big net. So we've got to remember that near-Earth orbit is critical to a conflict on Earth, and we've got to defend it. And right now, we do not have an administration that is inclined to do that.
We're going to talk about that administration in just a minute, but let's switch gears. China reportedly urging UN member states not to attend an upcoming event planned by Germany, the U.S., and Britain on the repression of Uyghur Muslims. Why do you think that is? Do you think China's just concerned that they'll finally be held accountable?
It must be, because China has no answers for what it's doing. It's not only detaining 1 million or so Uyghurs, Kazakhs, and others, it's killing them in those facilities. And we know that, Rachel, because China is building crematoria next to them. But of course, there's also torture and brutality, mass institutionalized rape. There is also, we believe, organ harvesting from the Uyghurs. And we know that China has been enslaving them, selling their labor to both domestic and foreign companies. So the range of crimes against humanity just covers the lot. And right now, China is moving to a place where it is not quite mass extermination yet, but that's where they're moving if they're not stopped.
It's so disturbing to think about and hard to think that it's happening in the world that we live in right now. Let me ask you lastly, Gordon, back on that administration, President Joe Biden says Congress needs to adopt his multi-trillion-dollar spending plans because he says China is, quote, eating our lunch. Do you think that this spending plan is the answer to compete with China?
There are parts of it which are important. So, for instance, research and development. But a lot of it is going to help China as much as or more than us. And I don't like that. So, for instance, this infrastructure building, it needs cement, it needs steel, it needs PVC pipe. Well, China is the world's largest producer of those. It produces more than half the world's steel, probably more than half the world's cement, and it's the largest PVC maker. So we've got to be very concerned. Now, if those materials are made in the U.S., that's one thing. But in the normal infrastructure plans that we've seen from the federal government, these items are bought from China. So this is not going to be good for us.
All right, all the time we have for this morning. Gordon Chang, thank you as always for joining us.
Thank you, Rachel.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.